Welcome back to a timey-wimey pod where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards. My name's Rebecca,
I'm Haley.
and today we are discussing Series 15, Episode 3, The Well.
I am so excited to talk about this episode with you today.
Oh my gosh. You guys, it's so hard. So these episodes for us come out. We're watching like Saturday morning, late Friday night, and then we don't record until Monday night because that is just as soon as we can record. And it's so hard not to talk about these episodes beforehand.
No, it's so hard. So, yeah, I can't wait to get into it. But do you have any fantastic facts? I know with the episodes being so recent, it's hard to find some good
Actually, do have
facts.
some good ones. So, yeah.
Slay.
So this episode aired April 26, 2025. It was written by Russell T. Davies and Sharma Angel Wallfall and directed by Amanda Brotish, who also directed last week's episode. And bring her back, bring her back, bring her
Please.
back.
She did a phenomenal job last week and this week.
So good. So good. This episode was almost called the 13 because of the 13 people going down into the planet.
Okay, I did see this somewhere the other day. I am glad that they chose the episode name to be The Well, though. I feel like the 13 just doesn't have that same effect.
There's something I really like about it, and they should like save it for something else, but I am glad they did The Well.
Yeah, or instead of the 13, I would just have it be 13.
Yeah, no, I'd rather the 13 because if you just called an episode 13, I don't know, people would go into it with certain expectations. I'll just say that. So the cast and crew for this episode, they all did a deaf awareness course to support Rose Ailing Ellis, who plays Alice Fenley in this episode, phenomenally so. And Shuti learned some BSL, which in the US we know as ASL, but over there it's obviously BSL. And they had Rose give some notes on the script just to make sure that everything kind of made sense for her character and things, you know, just made sense in the script overall with having a deaf character. And I thought that was really interesting.
That is really interesting, and I think that's really, really cool. I really, really loved that Shuti himself was signing. I thought that was a really cool touch.
Me too. Now, this episode wasn't intended to be a sequel to Midnight at first. Originally, Russell and Sharma were working on an episode with the Orisha, which are Nigerian gods essentially. They would have been part of the pantheon of gods that the show is building, but because these are gods from like a real life religion that people follow and believe, they couldn't really make it work to keep it respectful and make them Doctor Who villains. But Russell said that he hasn't really given up on the idea or the script, so maybe they'll do that eventually. But yeah, that's originally what this episode was going to be.
Interesting.
Okay, you guys, we need to have a serious conversation. Gather around, sit down on the couch. We need to have a family meeting. Because the twist was kind of ruined. Because for weeks, the Doctor Who Twitter, Doctor Who Reddit, whatever, everyone's been kind of theorizing that this was going to be a sequel to Midnight because Russell said, I guess he said that this was a sequel to something, and we all were just like, "Oh, it's a sequel to Midnight." So we went into the episode kind of knowing that, or at least thinking that could be a possibility. How did that affect the episode for you, first time watching it, and what was your reaction to the reveal?
Okay, getting spoiled about the Midnight reveal was definitely frustrating for me. I do not like spoilers, and I really do think it puts a wrench when you're trying to really enjoy a show and give an episode the benefit of the doubt. So knowing that there was going to be most likely a Midnight reveal really made me analyze this episode harder, and it was more of like, oh, will this top Midnight? Will this be as good as Midnight? Versus I feel like if I didn't have that knowledge beforehand, I would have gone in completely blind with no expectations at all. And I would have preferred that. I do think it really it did defy my expectations. I think the episode was done super, super well, but getting spoiled on that was frustrating and did affect how I viewed the first part of the episode, at least. How did it affect things for you?
For me, I went into it thinking, okay, this is going to be the sequel to Midnight, but I wasn't really like comparing them to like, oh, is this going to be better? Is this going to be as good? I kind of just went
Right.
into it knowing this is going to happen. So I was throughout the episode just kind of waiting, and I was like, oh, like, okay, this is probably the planet. This is crazy. And then I was just waiting for the reveal. And you guys, that reveal, even though I knew it was coming, even
Mm-hmm.
though I was waiting for someone to be like, this planet's called Midnight, it was so good. It was so, so, so good. Shuchi's
Mm-hmm.
reaction, seeing the snippet of David Tennant and Sky, so good. The music was incredible, just the build up. Like, this is a diamond planet. This is a mine. Like, oh, everything was so good. That whole performance between the doctor and what was her name? Shea. So good. So good. I
Mm-hmm.
loved the reveal. It would have been so much better if I didn't know it was going to happen before I went into the episode. That's just really what it's like these days with consuming media and, you know, being heavily involved in social media and maybe too involved, too deep. You kind of just always know what's coming. Like,
Yeah.
people who see the show filming out in the streets, and like you see a funeral scene, so you know a character is gonna die, and it just kind of sucks in general for everything. But overall, the twist is still good. I will say
Yeah.
there's no real reason it needed to be Midnight and needed to be the Midnight entity, but I'm okay that it is, because they did the impossible. They pulled off a sequel that never should have been made and
Yeah.
made it really good.
Yeah. Off mic, I'm sure there have been plenty of times where both me and Rebecca have been like, Midnight is like the one episode that never needs a sequel.
Yeah.
Um, I still stand by that, but I'm also not complaining because this episode was amazing. And a Twitter user put it perfectly, honestly. The Twitter user Barbara Yataxa said, for me, the well is to midnight as the time of angels is to blink. It was never going to
Ooh.
surpass it, but it expands upon it, both in scale and mythology, and goes for something different rather than trying to retread the same story beats.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that it takes a completely different angle at the story, and that we're so far in the future. Like, this is 400,000 years since the events of Midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, thousands and thousands of lifetimes have happened in that time. And the entity has evolved, but the same kind of crucial elements are still there of this creature, this thing, making people paranoid and making people turn
Mm-hmm.
against each other and making people afraid. That is still there, even though, like, what we saw from Midnight of it copying people, that's gone. But the strength of like this entity, like how strong it is, that's still there, and how it makes people feel is still there. And I find it all so fascinating. And I think it works really well. And I've seen people be like, well, how does it do this? Or why does it do that? Or that was never a thing before. You guys, 400,000 years have passed. So this thing has evolved. And it makes a lot of sense to me. What about you? How are you feeling about that?
No, I completely agree. I think it makes total sense that the entity has evolved and has learned a lot observing, I was going to say humans, but that's incorrect, but just observing different life forms over the years, that of course it's not going to be identical to what it was in the past. I think we already kind of saw this with Midnight. There was already a twist to the entity of Midnight where it was changing and morphing throughout the episode. So that tips me off that it's very much a creature that morphs and evolves, and that's like the essence of their being. And like you said, the crux of their being is really to make people paranoid. And it
Mm-hmm.
does an excellent job at that because it is so freaky and it makes people think that they're crazy and gang up on each other, as we saw in this episode, as we saw especially in Midnight. as like a creature life form in Doctor Who, I love the entity a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I love both of these episodes, but I hope we don't see it again.
Yes, I agree. We'll get into the ending a bit more later, but I don't need to see it again. And you know what? I said that again. I
Mm-mm.
said that about Midnight. So maybe
Literally.
in another 18 years they'll do another episode and I'll be like, "You know what? I said they never should have done it, but it's okay. They did." But yeah, don't touch it. Leave it. But if you do, okay, I'll watch it. Let's be
No,
honest.
literally.
I will say, even before the big reveal, I was really enjoying this episode. This has
Mhm.
everything I love about Doctor Who. This like high sci-fi. We're with a crew of people on a planet on a base doing something. Those are my favorite kind of episodes. This, Impossible Planet, Satan Pit. Like anytime we're on a planet or a base or a ship and there's a crew and there's like an angry guy with a gun and then there's the like smart, reasonable captain. I'm there. I'm sad. I enjoy it every single time. And this is something that Russell does really well is building his ensemble cast. And unfortunately,
Mhm.
the showrunners that come to follow, well, not follow because we're in the current era, but the showrunners
The
the
showrunners after
showrunner
RTD1.
yeah, don't do that as well or don't do it as often as really
Mhm.
diving into the ensemble characters and the characters around the doctor and the companions.
I totally agree with that. Okay, here's my moment to have another serious conversation
Okay.
between us all. Where is the orange spacesuit?
Where is the orange spacesuit? Where is it, Russell? Where is
This
it?
was the perfect opportunity for it. 15 and Belinda literally went in the TARDIS wardrobe. You're telling me he couldn't have come out in an orange spacesuit?
How do they come out in the exact outfits that they needed to be wearing?
That's what I want to know. Like, is it very TARDIS coded, being like, you're
Yes.
clothed with, yeah, you know, with what you
This is
need, not what you want?
definitely yeah. This is definitely one of those episodes where the TARDIS took them where they needed to be at a
Yeah.
certain point in time. And I guess that you could say that about every episode, but there's some episodes where it's really poignant.
Oh, totally. Um, I screamed when Toxic started playing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, "Wait, this is toxic. Wait, end of the world. Oh my gosh."
Yeah,
Yeah, loved that moment.
especially because that started playing right after 15 was talking about how the human race always exists and is out there amongst the stars, which it gives
Mhm.
the Ninth Doctor in the end of the world, where coincidentally, do you know what classic Earth ballad is played in that episode as the Earth is being destroyed?
Toxic.
Toxic. So very interesting nod, Russell. What are you trying to tell us about Earth?
Okay, I'm starting a new campaign, everyone. Hashtag get Belinda a nap because this
Yes.
episode starts directly after Lux, which I love, by the way. I love that we're just keeping the story
Mhm.
going. However, get Belinda a nap. She needs a nap.
Like, girl worked a 12-hour shift in the hospital. She went on an adventure with an insane character named Mr. Ringading last week. And immediately after she's in this and she gets shot at the end of this episode, get her a nap. Get
Get
her a
her a
bedroom
nap.
in the TARDIS at least.
Yeah, just having her lay on the cold TARDIS floor at the end.
Yeah, precisely. Also, I am officially sitting here. I am officially suspicious of her parents. They've been mentioned too many times to not be nothing
Oh,
or to be
interesting.
nothing.
I don't know if I'm suspicious, but that's fair. I will say I love how comforting the doctor is to her. Like, I'm gonna meet your parents. First off, trying to meet the parents. That's crazy.
No,
Um
literally.
Second, I'm gonna make your dad laugh. Your mom's gonna whistle at me. So funny. And I just love seeing this kind of connection between them and him really trying to comfort her. And I feel like there's been so many times throughout the show where the doctor does a really bad job at taking care of his companions. They're like suffering, having the worst day, crying, seeing the worst things, and he's not comforting them at all. But
No,
this doctor's
literally.
really good at that. And I really love that he takes the time to be there for Belinda and later on in the episode, try to be there for Rose and try to be kind. And yeah, I just love it. Also, I love the lights in the TARDIS throughout this whole scene. I love how they're like yellow
Yes.
and blue. And then when they go change, it's like green and blue. It looks so cool. I will never get over this TARDIS. I love it so much. I don't care what y'all say.
Oh, completely agree. I also love the score. The music
Mm.
that I think
Hmm.
at this point is Belinda's theme, is it not?
I don't know, but I did see someone say that.
Okay. I always get confused when a new theme is in the show on whose it is. If it's the doctors, if it's shows in general, if it's the companions. I don't know. Whatever is playing in the TARDIS, I love it. It's so good.
I didn't really notice it. Honestly, to be my truth is that half the time I don't really notice the music. I love the music, but I don't always really notice it like that. So I
Hmm.
can't even picture what was playing in that scene.
Genuine question. Why did it take until they like all jumped down
Oh yeah.
to midnight for Shia to be suspicious of them? Like they pop out of the TARDIS and she's just like, helmets on now. But then once they land, that's when there's a problem. Wouldn't you be like, who breached this secure area first?
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane. And that there just so happens to be the right amount of helmets and space for the Doctor and Belinda, and no one really seems to notice or care that they're there.
Mm-hmm. Until they, land. Which that shot of them like dropping down is so cool.
Oh yeah, it is. No, I really love how they just literally jump into the action of the episode.
Same. Also, mining in this show never goes down well. Stop mining, stop drilling. You're always going to someone's something that will murder the crew. So just stop
Wait,
doing it.
you're so right. Hashtag stop drilling.
No, literally.
Okay, before we get to Alice, what do you think about the troopers that we really get to know? Shea, Cassio, who I'm adding to a category I'm creating called Hot Angry Guy with Gun, or just Angry
Yeah,
Guy with Gun, because there's a lot of hot angry guys with guns in the show, and it
there
never
is.
really works out well for them. I mean,
Mm-mm.
we met Manny a few weeks ago. He's fine. Cassio, I
No.
have major beef with, but
Oh, so much beef.
that's quintessential Hawkeye with a gun characteristics is they kind of suck. They have
Yeah.
issues. Maybe they can redeem those issues and be nice in the end, like Manny, or they're gonna face their fate like Cassio.
So true. But to answer your question, my thoughts on the crew, I liked Shea a lot. And I
I
love her
loved
ending in
her.
this episode.
I keep wanting to call her the captain, but like she's not a
Yeah,
captain. But I loved her as a
me too.
leader. I loved how she really trusted the doctor, even though she had no reason to. And I love like the backstory we get from her and her ending, her death was so powerful, and I loved
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah, I really, really loved her in this episode. So shout out to her. Cassio, like I said a second ago, I have major beef with that man. He was so pressed. He was pressed from before they even landed on midnight. Like, let's just be so real because he was in a mood. Like, literally chill, calm down. Also, him and the others being like, hope is irrelevant. You
I
guys sound like
know, like
Daleks. Take a chill pill.
literally, like, okay, calm down. Him being like, it's not appropriate to call me babes. And the doctor just saying, okay, hun. That is why I love the 15th Doctor. So funny. So good.
He's petty and I love it.
Okay. What do you think about Alice?
Okay, so before I get into how I feel about Alice, I'm going to mention that a lot of people have differing theories
Mm-hmm.
on her in this episode. So there's the theory that some people have that the real Alice is dead and she's just the entity is in her. So there's that theory. There's also the theory that she's just an unreliable narrator just because. I don't really get that theory, but that's what some people think. And then other people think she was just scared. I don't know where I fully lie with her. I love her and I love her
Mm-hmm.
character. I find it really interesting And I don't know if anyone else read into this like I did, and maybe this wasn't even intentional on RTD's part. I don't know. But I thought it was really interesting to have a disabled character be the center of everyone's paranoia because,
Mm-hmm.
even 15 mentions that, like, throughout time, people signing have made other people paranoid, which is really dumb and really stupid. But as someone who I'm not deaf, but I am disabled, and I have plenty of people in my life who are also disabled in varying ways, that's kind of always the worst fear, is to be the first on the suspect list, or for people to be
Mm-hmm.
like, you're contaminated, or just not take you seriously or think you're suspicious just because you might have differing social cues than everyone else around them or everyone else around you. So, all of that to say, I found it very interesting that Alice, a deaf woman, was at the center of all of this paranoia, and she constantly had the battle of telling them, like, hey, switch on, like the visual captions, switch them on.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't turn your back on me,
Ugh.
which is so heartbreaking and just so sad to watch. Because again, I can't relate to deaf struggles, but I can relate to similar sentiments where you're like, please don't ignore me just because, my life is different. So, all of this kind of word salad to say is I don't have a fully formed opinion on if she truly was Alice at the end or if the entity kind of swallowed her up. I lean more on the side that she was truly Alice at the end, but I don't know. Like, did any of that make sense?
No, totally. I'm team Alice is innocent. I think
Okay, good.
she is alive. I do have like one thing that caught me up. So she said that she had to kill her friend Sal before Sal killed her because
Mm-hmm.
Alice already had the entity on her at that point. But if Alice already had the entity on her at that point, that means she also killed someone else to get that, which she did not mention, and I just find interesting.
Wait, I assumed that the friend that Alice killed was the one who had the entity.
They made it sound like I had to kill her before she killed me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I took that as saying
Oh, I
Alice
see what
already
you're
had the
saying.
entity when she killed Sal. But maybe that's not how we were supposed to take it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of it is a little bit confusing because I know Alice said, like, it came out of the well and they said it was laughing and then it made
Hmm.
everyone paranoid and then they started killing each other and then kind of like that whole domino effect. And then she was like, you really think that it came for me? But I don't
Hmm.
know. That is, yeah, I don't know for sure.
Yeah, just again, I think Alice is innocent. I completely agree
Yeah.
with what you said. I think it was very intentional to put a disabled character at the center of this and highlight the paranoia from the audience and the characters, just because, not just because she's disabled, but I think that definitely adds to why everyone was so paranoid around her and just feeds into what disabled people have to live with all the time. And it just made so many moments so heartbreaking, and seeing the things that she has to deal with, like with the subtitles and people turning them on and off, and the doctor talking right in front of her, and she's like, I can still read your lips. And the scene later on towards the end when the doctor deliberately turns his back on her so they can talk about her and what to do and if they're going to leave her on the planet, and her just crying, please don't turn your back on me. That is an incredible scene, such a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
moment. Oh my gosh, Rose is just such an incredible actor in that moment. It really choked me up and made me emotional, and I just think that's such a beautiful line. It's so complex. She's saying like, don't turn your back on me, like I can't understand you, and don't turn your back on me, don't give up on me, don't leave me here. It's
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful, and she delivered it incredibly well.
She was phenomenal in this episode. Like, I could not get over her entire performance. And something too is she has a daughter she wants to get back to.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, she just wants to go home. And she has all of these people so suspicious of her and pointing guns at her. It's just so heartbreaking to watch it all unfold because now that I'm thinking more on it as we've been talking, I don't think it's that she was an unreliable narrator. I think it's because she was scared to admit that the entity was behind her and she knew that it was behind her. It's a little suspicious still, but I could also understand just being so scared until, it started killing people and then she had no choice but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to tell them about it.
Yeah, completely. Also, the subtitle screens, so cool. I need those in
Yeah.
real life because I literally can never understand what people are saying anytime they talk to me. So can we get those and the x-ray blankets, please?
No, like the inventions in RTD2, I'm loving, especially this series.
They're
X-ray
finally putting
blankets,
that Disney budget to work.
they really are. And I really think they should send like the concept of these items to people who can actually make them because like the thought of visual captions is actually really cool. And I think that would be the coolest thing to have just for
Mm-hmm.
everyone in general. Deaf people,
Please.
hearing people. It would be beneficial all around.
Totally. The moment where Belinda first sees the creature behind Alice and the way the music, I don't know how to describe it besides like it spikes up and it goes really
Mm-hmm.
sharp and jarring and it's like screaming, so good. And I loved the music anytime they kind of saw the entity. And I know I just said I don't really notice the music in this show for the most part, but I did notice it in that scene and other scenes throughout this episode. And it was great. It was great.
Oh, it was so eerie. It's what was needed to make the whole thing even more scary.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people online who are debating and talking about the appearance of the entity and their thoughts on it. And I'm just going to be real with all of you. I barely saw it. Literally just saw a black shadow both times I watched this episode. I've seen it twice since it premiered. I don't know how other people got a screenshot. The clip of it showing on the screen happened so fast. I don't know. I think you guys are a little
And
paranoid
guess what,
yourselves.
guys? The prop that they used so they could make this episode doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly what it has to look like in canon. That's just the prop they had to use to make the episode. The entity can look
Mm-hmm.
like whatever you want it to look like. To me, it's shapeless, it's formless, it
Yeah,
has no
same.
physical form.
No, I completely agree. I don't think there was ever any intention to actually decide or even decipher what the entity is truly supposed to look like. I think like you said, it's very shapeless and they just use what they use to kind of give the effect of like you can kind of see something's back there, but you can't see all of it.
Mm-hmm. So, in this episode, we find out that because of whatever is happening back on Earth 2025,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, this trooper crew that we're hanging out with and Alice, they've never heard of Earth and they've never heard of human beings. And I just, we don't know what's going to happen, but I will just say right now, I really like what they're doing with this arc. I
Mhm.
find the way that they're weaving it in really interesting and really entertaining. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm nervous because, we've said it before, we'll say it again. We're a little iffy on Russell and his finales right now, but he's really good at setting things up. And right now, I'm enjoying the setup.
Oh, I am really enjoying it. I think this thread has been weaved in this season much better than the whole Sutek thing last season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very nervous of where it's going to go.
Something that I'm less happy with how they're weaving in is Mrs. Flood.
Oh my
Because we
gosh,
saw
I
Mrs.
have a
Flood.
rant.
We saw Mrs. Flood at the end of this episode. And really, it was just gave major Susan Twist flashbacks. And we don't need to see Mrs. Flood every episode. It's really just harkening back to last season with Susan Twist. It's making it weird and confusing. we're already interested. We've been interested in Mrs. Flood since she said, what, never seen a TARDIS before? We don't need to see her every single episode being weird and mysterious. We get it. She's weird and mysterious. You don't need to pop her into every episode. How do you feel?
This is exactly what I was afraid was going to happen with Mrs. Flood in this season. And I feel like it's coming to fruition. And it makes me really upset because I think it would have made so much more sense if she was not in this episode at all. There was no reason for her to be
Mm-hmm.
in this episode. Like,
None.
why do we need to know she's making sure the doctor has the Vindicator? Like, that could have been in the last episode or a future episode. It didn't have to be in the well. And like you said, it's very much harkening back to Susan Twist. Just this time, the old lady who's mysterious remembers who the doctor is, and she's not like a new invention every time she shows up. But I'm just really annoyed. It's getting overplayed. I don't know why
Mm-hmm.
Russell is choosing to do this. And I saw someone say on Twitter, and I don't even remember the account, but they basically said, so why is everyone all of a sudden not caring who Mrs. Flood is? And the answer is her at the end of this episode, because
Mm-hmm.
you've lost our interest. You've dropped it.
And you can't drag out a reveal for 2 seasons, for 2 years, because people are going to get bored. We've made the theories. There's one of like, I don't know, 5 things she could be,
Mm-hmm.
unless Russell surprises us, which, let's just say it, is unlikely. It's unlikely. And so it's like, okay, she's gonna be one of these 5 things, let's just say. I just don't think you can drag it out for so long and then put her in every single episode leading up to it. Like, it's just too much. It's too much.
It is too much. I'm not opposed to the idea of something being teased or her being teased over the course of 2 seasons.
Mhm.
I like that idea because it's different. It's just the way he's gone about it is making her be a part of too many episodes this season when she has no need to be. Like, have us completely forget about her and have her just randomly
Yeah.
drop in at like the most weirdest time,
Mhm.
to surprise us all.
Totally. They should have kept her in the robot revolution, and that should have been it, and we shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have seen her again until we have to see her again.
Exactly. So I'm not as enthused as I once was with Mrs. Flood because at this point I just want to get it over with. Like, I'm
Yeah.
tired.
Exactly.
I'm
I'm
tired,
tired. Like,
RTD.
just tell me. Just tell me.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a shot in this episode of 15 saying, if it was a clock, you die at midnight. And then there's like this aerial view of the room. And it
Mhm.
literally looks like Alice is part of a clock. That shot and scene goes so hard.
Rip Taylor Swift. You would have loved this episode.
Also, this made me think of the clock arena in Catching Fire.
Oh, yeah. Wait, you're so right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so our favorite pieces of media intersecting.
No, literally. No, I loved how they explained that and that whole setup and it being this clock face. And I love that Belinda's the one that figures it out. I just love throughout this episode of her jumping into nurse mode. I love that they are keeping that going. I love that she, was trying to help Alice, doing her best. And when they're like looking through the base or whatever you want to call it, and they are finding all the dead people, and at first she tries to help and is like, oh no, they're dead and they've been dead. But I just love seeing her jump into nurse mode. I think that's great, and I'm glad that they're keeping that going.
Yeah, I love that consistency.
The scene where they're figuring out that it works like a clock, and Cassio has Alice like look at him, and then he's moving around and people are just being thrown everywhere. People are that
Yeah,
was crazy. That whole sequence, insane.
insane. Okay, Cassio. Here, I'm going
Cassio.
to say my full piece about him because you literally impeach your leader, threaten the doctor and Belinda, and then you proceed to get most of the crew killed. And then, because you're out of control, your leader has to kill you. Like,
Yeah.
sir, this could have all been avoided if you were willing to listen. And I know you can say, well, that's like the point of the entity. Like, that's the point of this episode. It makes people gang up on other people, it makes people paranoid. No, that man was a problem the first time he stepped on the screen before the entity was even introduced.
Oh yeah, he was in a bad mood this whole time.
Yeah, and that bad mood proceeded to kill him, literally. So, yeah, that's my piece about him. He's a hot guy with a gun, but
Hot every guy with a gun.
yeah, he doesn't really have any redeeming qualities, unfortunately.
No. I did like at the end Mo, which I love Mo by the way. We haven't talked enough
Same.
about her. Shout out to
So
Mo.
true.
I loved how she was like, and Cassio, he tried his best. Like, did he? But
Did
fair
he?
enough, I guess.
The interaction between Shia and 15 when she asks him when he was there last, and 15 says, "A different life, back when the world was made of diamonds, and I met something so vile, it had no face, no name, no self. I had never been so scared in my life." Russell knows how to write these like
Mhm.
lines so well, like this.
Yeah. And Chuchi's performance was so incredible. You
Yeah.
feel him remembering. You feel him thinking back to that day on the bus in midnight. And oh, it's so good. And just seeing him putting it together and remember, he performed that so well. You really felt it. You really believed it. I love his face when they say that the planet was called Midnight. So good.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, I think the lead up to the reveal is just a little bit silly because they're watching the video. The people on the video are like, "We don't know what it is." And the doctor's like, "That's reminding, like, how does he connect that to midnight, the midnight entity?" I
That's
saw
what I
someone on
want to
Twitter
know.
be like, they don't know what it is. Just like that one time I didn't know what it is. And it's so silly.
Completely. It was very silly. I also did not know how he got to like the entity from Midnight.
Hmm.
He's had so many adventures since then. It's low key crazy because I feel like he's encountered things that he doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, completely. It could have been anything. And the
Yeah.
doctor was like, wait, they don't know what it is. That means I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but they also don't know what humans are.
Yeah, exactly. So the logic is faulty.
It's very faulty. Okay, Loki also is so interesting to me and a little illogical that somehow the entity knows the tea about the doctor's OG name.
Oh, yeah, that's really. And I wish we got to hear a little bit more of what it was whispering. Like, what is it saying to
Yeah,
people? What was it saying to Belinda?
that's what I want to know.
What
The
else did it
low,
say to the doctor? Like the horror on his face. Again, incredible,
yeah,
incredible acting from Chuti. But like, what is it saying?
that's what I want to know. The whispers kind of reminded me of the woman from 73 Yards.
Totally, totally.
Yeah, because like in that episode, we didn't know what she was saying to everyone. And it's kind of the same thing here with the entity. And I would just love to know more, like you were saying, of what exactly it said to 15. Because it had to say something else other than his name.
I think it did because we just see like him saying like it's saying my name and then just the horror on his face grows. So yeah, it's just really interesting. We already talked about this, but I love when Alice says, "You think it crawled its way out of hell to get to me." So good.
Hmm.
So good. Like why I'm just the person that's left. I'm just the last one on the line of dominoes. Like it's not because of me. This isn't my fault. Oh, so good.
So good. And I find it really interesting that 15 pointed out, like, her being deaf is possibly what saved her because she
Hmm.
couldn't hear the whispers, which makes me think, like, are the whispers making everyone crazy? Because that's got to be the answer, right?
I think that does have something to do with it. Like you would have to, right? So what is it whispering? Like Belinda? What did it say? Tell us.
That's what I want to know. But yeah, skipping ahead to the conclusion before the conclusion, where we think all that has to happen is that it has to see its own reflection and then it will be destroyed. No, that doesn't solve anything because somehow, someway, the entity gets to all of them as they're trying to escape and it grabs a hold of Belinda.
Yes, and then we find out that there's actually two entities because before it grabs onto
Yeah.
Belinda, we see three people go into the airlock, but then on the screen it registers four people. So we know that entity went with
Escaped?
them. So I don't there was two of them or it's the same. I don't know, but fascinating, very interesting.
Very interesting. And it makes me wonder, did Shia have it? Or as soon as she went into the well, it kind of like came off of her and then went to Mo at the end of the episode? Or is it a
I don't
separate
know.
entity? Like, I feel like
Can
we
it be
can't
in
think
two
on that too
places at
much.
once?
Yeah, I don't know. But I love this whole thing. I kind of felt it was a little bit rushed with the whole shooting Belinda thing. Kind
Yeah,
of
I was like,
wish
"Wait,
there's a
how
little
are
more
we
to it.
shooting her but she's not gonna die? What are we
Yeah.
doing? Why are we shooting her?"
Yeah, when Chai was like, "Yeah, I will shoot her right above her heart." I'm like, "That gives me no comfort. Like, what do you mean?"
Yeah.
And thankfully, they got her back alive. That shot was actually really good. And her crying, and the doctor offering himself to the entity, being like, "I will take you around the universe,
Mm.
but please, I promise that she'd be safe."
Doctor, stop promising her that she's gonna be safe. She's not
I
gonna be
never end
safe.
well.
Like, you know what happens to the people that travel with you. Do not promise them anything.
Exactly. Exactly. You said you would keep Martha Jones safe. She experienced a whole year that never was, okay? You said you would keep Donna safe. She lost her memories.
You promised Worry's father that you would keep them safe, and then they died the very next episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You promised you would keep Bill safe. Actually, I can't remember if you promised that, but let's say you did. And we all know how that ended up.
He did. Bill was like, "Don't get me killed," and then she
That's
died.
right. No, he literally got her killed.
Yeah,
The doctor has a really bad track record. So,
which is
stop
why
promising
he should
people.
not be making any promises. Like, what are we doing?
No, literally, what are we doing? He's just so lucky that Belinda was able to be revived in this episode.
Yeah, thank goodness.
That's crazy. But I loved Shia running full speed to the well, the
Oh
doctor
yeah,
chasing after her, and just like the flashback to when she was young. I love
yeah,
that.
so
And her
good.
voiceover.
So good. I loved that whole sequence, that whole scene. Incredible. What a great side character. Loved it.
Also, on my second rewatch of this episode, I noticed that at the end of Shia having her voiceover, she says she's done all of this as her duty to protect and to bring hope, which is interesting because everyone else that before this had been saying hope was irrelevant.
Oh, interesting. You're right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love the scene of Belinda just lying on the TARDIS floor and they're talking about Earth and what's
Mm-hmm.
going on, and the doctor just lies down next to her. I thought that was great.
Yeah. I love that shot so much.
Okay, so what did you think of the actual ending when we find out the entity is on Mo and it's not over and they didn't escape?
I really liked it. I liked that it was kind of a cliffhanger. We don't know how it concluded. I loved it. What are your thoughts?
I'm conflicted because part of me wanted them to escape and wanted them to be safe and never see that thing again. But another part of me really loves those kind of endings where you think everything's fine and then, oh no, the thing is still there, or oh no, they didn't catch the killer. Oh no, the killer escaped. I love those kind of like, oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
not over kind of endings, but we're not going to see what happens next. I do feel bad that it's Mo. Like, ugh,
Me
poor
too. I loved
Mo.
her.
But yeah, great ending. Just get Alice home, y'all. Like, that's all that matters. Just get Alice home.
Get Alice home to her daughter and get Belinda home to her bed.
Yeah, please. Who's the star of the show?
Okay, I gotta give it. to Alice. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way around it.
No, it's Alice. Like, come on.
She's an iconic queen, and I think she's incredible. And I'm happy she wasn't killed by Cassio.
I know, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. Special shout out to Shea because
Yeah.
she's great. What is the heart of this episode?
Don't judge a book by its cover. Give people the benefit of the doubt and let people explain themselves before you threaten to kill everyone.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of people just because they're different from what you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do we have any reviews of this episode?
Yes, we do. They are both from Reddit, from the Doctor Who subreddit. And this first review is by the user The Image Works, and they said, quote, I like that the repeating thing was proven to be the midnight entity effing with everyone. It drives up the cruelty a notch higher. Remember the scorn in 12's voice? You just want cruelty to beget cruelty? That's the entity at its core. 10's greatest fear, the most fearsome foe. The formless manifestation of malice and cruelty and paranoia and terror, killing innocents and terrorizing all manner of life solely because it can. Not the Master, not the Cybermen, not even the Daleks are that malevolent. I am just stunned. This just jumped my previous contenders for favorite 15 episode by a mile.
Oh, yeah. This is already one of the best episodes of the era. Yeah, it's really incredible. Also, something I just thought of while you were reading that was that we do know the entity can attach itself to two people at once because in Midnight, we saw it, becoming Sky. It was Sky pretending to be Sky while still having a hold on the Doctor and paralyzing him.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that at all.
Yeah, I only just thought about it.
This last review I have is from the user Related Zombie, and I'm going to read just a little bit of their review. They said that I think the episode could have done without the Flood cameo, and Midnight stands on its own 2 feet, and The Well was able to do the same as its sequel. Also, for the first time, I actually felt like the Doctor's crying had weight. At last, he cried for a genuinely great and terrifying reason. Wonderful episode.
Okay, the crying thing, y'all gotta stop being so pressed about the crying.
No, literally.
It's weird. Like, calm down. But everything else I agree with. Something I was worried going into this is with a sequel, sometimes you find that it takes away something from the original or it diminishes something from the original. But that didn't do this. Like Midnight still works on its own. It still stands strong as an episode. It doesn't ruin anything from that episode. And this is just a great, great sequel.
Yeah, and this sequel definitely also stands on its own 2 feet, which I absolutely love. And yeah, this episode was just so phenomenal. Definitely one of my top faves of this era so far. We will see how the remaining episodes will land compared to this. But yeah, I loved this episode.
Really strong season so far, guys. Hate to say it, and
Yeah.
I don't hate to say it, but we're on a really good track. I've loved every single episode so far.
Me too, which makes me even more nervous. But I think, you know what? I'm just going to have hope because hope is relevant.
Hope is relevant. And you guys, guess what? Ruby Sunday's coming home next week. She's coming home.
Finally. I'm so interested to see where in 2025 or will it be 2024 that they go.
Yeah, I don't know.
Very interesting. It seems like it will be just such a classic Who episode. And I am so excited. I know it's the Dr. Light episode of the season, but I can't lie. I'm so excited to see my girl Ruby.
I can't wait. And we will see you guys next week when we discuss the Lucky Day.
And as always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at TimeyWimeyPod.
And email us anything and everything, and maybe we'll read it on the show. Tell us your predictions for the season,
Yeah.
what your favorite moments have been. And you can email us at timeywimeypod@gmail.com.
Yeah, or DM us on Instagram, or comment on Spotify, comment on YouTube, whatever you feel like.
Carrier pigeon, message in the sky, whatever.
Whatever it is. But we will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Ta-ra.